Welcome everyone to June Power Hour. I am Tessa Chappell. I live in Indiana, joined by Meggan Jax, who is out in Washington State, and she will be coming on for the second half. You'll get to see her face. I'm going to kick us off tonight. So we have two layouts. We're going to start with mine. We'll finish with Meggan's. So you have your handouts ready. You can make notes, or we'll see. Make sure we don't have any corrections. Hopefully we got it all right the first time. So I'm going to flip down to my table. So those of you that are in our summer scrap, so Meggan and I run a summer scrapbook challenge. It's 8 weeks. And we did a Zoom kickoff a couple weeks ago. And I did this layout that was inspired by one of the Creative Memories blog posts. So it wasn't my idea, but we were just working through the layout together, and everyone that participated got to hear about the bird pictures I got over Memorial Day. And this was Shimmering Floral was the layout. So I have more pictures in for 2 pages. So tonight you will also get to see some bird photos, and you'll also see the same Shimmering Floral paper, but I wanted to find a design that would complement this. So if you're like me, a lot of times you take more photos than fit on 2 pages. And so you're looking to have maybe a different design for your next layout, but you want it to maybe coordinate a little bit.
I muted you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay, good. So I was looking for a design where it would be similar but different. So in this layout I done for the blog post, most of these photos were 3.5 or 3 inches. They were 3 inches cut down. Well, no, I can't always get every photo down to 3 inches. And so my layout for tonight, I wanted to do some photos that were a little bit larger than that. They're still not 4x6. But this is a layout you could really use for any size, but that's kind of where I went with this. That's how tonight's layout got accomplished, because that was my goal. I was using similar photos. They were a little bit larger. They didn't cut down to 3 inches. And I wanted to have maybe a little bit of that design showing in my papers. So I'm going to work on the right side of this layout tonight. So this is my left-sided layout. It's pretty easy in the cutting. We're just going to cut some 4-inch squares and trim them down and put them on our base paper. And then you can accent how you want. You can arrange your photos how you want. You could do 4x6. You could use peekaboo. It's pretty versatile because you are covering up a good chunk of it. But the elements of that I like is choosing your background paper. Obviously, it's a little bit unusual, but I chose this foiled paper out of the Shimmering pack, which I think you can see. And so when I did the design, I didn't want to cover up the layout completely, although you could, if you really are going to get happy with your squares and triangles, you could grid your entire layout like this and fill in these spots, and we'll talk about that. I decided to leave mine open. I need some place to rest my eye. I have a lot of prints going on. It's pretty busy overall. And so I intentionally left the left side of that open, and on this side, I'll left the right side open. So I already have my photos trimmed and cropped down because they're not inherent to I think you guys all know how to crop down. So these are 3.5-inch photos for mine. And then for this one, I did 3.5 by 5. So it's kind of been my trend and my goal this year to get a little bit smaller than 4x6. It's kind of the new thing I'm playing with. 4x6 take up a lot of room. Sometimes I usually don't always need all of that in the photo. And so unless I'm really using peekaboo, I try to see how I can crop them down. And maintaining a consistent sizing, whatever that is, adds, I think, some symmetry to your layout, which is pleasing to the eye. So over here I had 3, and I had the 3.5 by 5. Over here I have a vertical orientation. This one was horizontal. So these are the photos that will be going on my layout tonight. So for those of you that love to hear me talk about birds, the first layout you saw were bluebirds, which I don't have at my house. I was pretty excited to see. I have my blue jays, my little squirrel, and then over here, this is the white-breasted nuthatch, which is really fun for me to find. And I was really impressed by his ability to defy gravity and stand on the side of the feeder. And so because I don't have them in my house, I really do need to use all 4 photos. And then I had posted some of these in a birding group, and then someone on this photo said, oh, it's a white-breasted nut snatcher, which I thought was so cute. So I'll probably put that in my journaling. I'm not journaling yet on these pages. I'm going to do all of them and then decide how I want to do my journaling for that. So what do I need besides my photos? I need a variety and assortment of papers. So you can use several, you can use a couple, you could use all of the same. Over here, you can see I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4 patterns. Some of these come off the front and back. I have some leftover, so I'm gonna use those because when you cut a 4-inch strip, it's easy to cut 3 4-inch sections. And so I only use 2 over here, so I still have a 4-inch section of the stripes. I used half a triangle. This is a quarter triangle up here and at the top. So I still have one of those I'll be able to use. And I still have half a triangle from the other side of this one that I'll have. So I do need to cut some 4-inch squares from the other ones, and I have my scraps to do that. So I'm just doing 4 inches. And I punched out of here, but I'm going to go ahead and cut that one because I could probably get a triangle out of there. And I use the back of these too. That's why I have to count them out. So I think on the handout, I said that you'll need, I said at least 7, and that depends on how you want the patterns next to each other. So depending on how you want your design, sometimes it's a little bit of a game if we're using multiple patterns to have decide which ones will be close to each other and what you can have not touching, so to speak. A little bit more obvious on the handout at the bottom, you can see how my colors originally laid out. And I'm going to try to do this as a mirror image for my other side. So I'm going to piece these out to make sure I have them. So I have that one, I have that one, that one. So when I cut them in half, so after you cut your 4 inches, we're just going to cut it in half for the triangle part. And to do that, I use the 45-degree angle on the trimmer, and I line up my points on the cutting mat. And the trick to cutting them in half is to not start on the ends because you will kind of run into the point of your triangle. So start somewhere in it, push down, go down, and then just go back the other way to cut through the top of it. If you do happen to get a little snag, if your paper shifts, just get your scissors, you can fix that. Sometimes I don't have the steadiest hand. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. So I have my 2 triangles here. This one I might not be able to use or still cut. Like I said, I punched out of that, but I don't want to waste that till I'm confident. That might be, I think that's all I need. I might have to repunch that, recut that one. We'll see. I have my other sheet on standby, but this is my last sheet, and I don't want to cut it if I don't have to. So we're going to see if I can cover that spot, and if not, I will cut into this paper. So I showed you how to cut one of the big triangles in half. If you want your corners filled in, you'll have to cut another triangle in half also, the half of a half. If you're cutting stripes like me, you can decide which way you want to cut across them. I think stripes would look the same either way, but you kind of look at your print and see if there's a certain direction you want to cut it. When I cut the half into quarters, I'm just going to flush it up against the top, or you can use the bottom of the trimmer. Again, put my point on the dotted line, start from the top and pull down. So that gives me these little corner triangles that we have. This is when the fun comes in. We get to adhere them and line them up. So for this, I have my repositional tape and I have my T ruler. You could use any ruler. If you follow my and I very long, you'll know that we like to use a T ruler. It comes from Amazon. They're only like $5. We have the link in our favorite things section on the website, but this will help me line up my first piece. And my other tip before you start adhering anything is you want to do kind of a dry fit to make sure you know where you want your pieces to go. And I suggest after you do the work of figuring this out, before you actually start adhering anything, take a picture with your phone or something to remind you, because inevitably you'll work and you'll figure it out and then you'll move the pieces and then you'll forget what's supposed to go where. So just take a picture with your phone if you can. That way you'll be confident and you don't have to go back. Because if it were me, I would move them and I would forget and then I would be trying to remember. And like I said, I've already done a little bit of the thought work here, but this part can be a little bit slower as you figure out which colors and patterns and pieces you want to sit next to each other on the layout. If you're just using a couple, you could just do kind of a patchwork, every other. With the 3, I just tried to make sure that I didn't have them touching. They're kind of spread apart. It was inevitable though, 2 of them were going to be close together, and so I opted to have these 2, which are kind of side by side on the outside. So I know where my pieces are going to go. I'm going to move them out of the way. And I'm going to start with the center one. So if you have a T ruler or some sort of ruler, the nice thing about the T is you can pull it against your mat. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my points of the square along the edge of that ruler, because I have the ruler at 6 inches. And I'm also going to be looking here to make sure that I get it across. So it should be on the 6-inch line, both directions. If you have 2 rulers, it doesn't hurt. I have this other little small ruler that I can line up to, or even a piece of paper, that you can lay horizontal and see where your tip is pointing to. I think I'm a little up on that end. The first one's the hardest. Once we get this one done, it's a little easier. Sometimes it's easier too if you can stand up. It's a little bit harder since I'm on the camera. Once you have it where you want it, the last thing you want to do is pick it up, right? You just did all that work to kind of make sure that it's measured. So I'm holding the ruler. I'm going to use my repo tape. I'm just going to lift up a corner and adhere it down. That way I know that it won't move. And then I can lift up the other side. Put some repo tape down. Hopefully I have it lined up. Like I said, it's a little bit hard not being able to stand up over it. But I think it's close enough and I'm going to go for it. Yeah, for mine, the stripes of mine are going to go like this on the layout. That's what I was thinking, but as someone pointed out in the chat, if I was gonna keep my corners because they're cut, I really probably wanted this shifted the other way. So on this side, you can't see so much on my stripes, but they are all going the same way. And you're right, that I probably wanted to. So you just watch me do that. And now I'm just gonna give you extra time while I move it and do it again. The nice thing is if you figure out a mistake like that and you move with the repo tape, you can easily pick it up and do it again. Okay, so once I have the first piece down, I'm going to work my way towards a corner. So when I did this side, I went this way. For this side, I'm going to go this way. So I'm going to adhere my next square right here, and then I'm going to adhere the triangle. If you notice, I did not adhere these all the way up against the edge. I'm giving myself about 1/8 of an inch margin. Depending on how you cut your squares, you know, sometimes even a 1/16 of an inch or so can be noticeable when you start doing layouts like this where you're leaving spacing between sizes. The key is just to be as consistent as you can. So I have this triangle up here. I don't have it glued down, but I know I have kind of about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to center this triangle or the square between these as best. Then I'm going to do my triangle. So when I do the triangles, I want to make sure that I get the tips of them have adhesive. I know it's going to sit right here. And so with the repo tape, I usually just go over the corners underneath where I know it will sit. And that way my corner should not lift up as I move the layout around. And then I'm going to work on the other corner. I was looking at there is a direction to this. I was looking to make sure that my stripes on this orange are going to go the same way as the triangles. So the corner pieces are just the squares cut in half and then cut in half again. So I can show you that I'm going to have to cut another one in half. So after I glue this one down, I will cut a square and show you. It's easy to get very focused on your lines, and you do want to be as symmetrical as possible. In the end, you're going to have photos on top, so the subtleties that you can notice when there's nothing on here will not be as obvious to you. And maybe they might be obvious to you, but your viewers of your scrapbook will not notice. So I promise you it will be fine. I don't think I'm going to cover that spot, so I'll go ahead and show you how to cut one. So I'm going to cut myself a 4-inch square. And so to cut it in half, I'm going to use a 45-degree line on the trimmer. I'm going to put the points in the points on the dotted part of the cutting mat. I'm going to use, I'm going to start in the middle and then go up and down. I never want to cut against the point of a triangle. You will blunt it. So that gives me the 2 half triangles. I don't need quarter triangles anymore, but if I did, if I wanted to cut sections for there, I would turn it, flush it up against the top or the bottom, and then I would cut down like that to cut it in half. Yeah, this is Shimmering Floral. It's a pack from, I think 2019. It's one of those packs that I've been hoarding for the perfect photos. And if these aren't the perfect photos, I'll never have them. So I'm using up the 2 packs that I have, and I don't have any more, and I'm sad now that I didn't hoard 3. That's the hard part about hoarding, is you never quite know how much you'll really want in the future. How many of you have papers in your stash that you feel like are too pretty to use? So they just sit on the shelf forever. Put my last triangle in here again to do the tips of the triangle. I'm just using repositional tape. I do it over the edge where it's going to sit anyways, so I'm not wasting any. If you have to choose between maintaining your spacing in the middle or along the edge, maintain your spacing along the outside, because you will see that. That part will not be covered with photos. If you have an unsteady hand or you don't trust yourself, you can always, grab your T-ruler, line it up against the bottom, and adhere your pieces flush against your ruler like this. So however you think you would work best. So that's all that I'm going to put down, because I debated, do I want to fill in more of this? And you could create some interesting designs, right? You could fill the entire thing. You could fill in this end piece. You could leave that open. But I really wanted to see this paper that's underneath it. I know you can see slightly how it shimmers, but it's even prettier in person. So I wanted to make sure I could see a good chunk of that one. So that's my base layout. So once you get that first one adhered, it's really not that bad. Lining up the rest of them. So how do you accent it, or how do you do the finishing touches? What do you want to add to your layout? Like I said, I already matted my photos. So these were 3.5 inch, and I did a 1/8 of an inch mat around there. I'm pretty sure I put this on here. Yeah. So my photos are 3.5 and 3.5 by 5. The mats are 3 3/4, and then 3 3/4 by 5 3/8. If you're cutting exactly as me. I used white. I don't always mat my photos, but I think on this kind of layout, when you do have a lot of papers going on underneath, matting your photos will pop them out from the layout. And so to finish out the layout, over here, I punched the songbirds border. I will do that again. I'm going to punch that section to come over here. And then I have my branch border punch. I had punched a little section to come out from the bottom there. And then I fussy cut a couple of the birds, the blue from up here. I thought about, what color I'm going to use. So the challenge is when you have a lot of colors or a lot of prints, finding one that will pop out against all of them can be a little challenging when you're trying to get something to pop out. So you just kind of go through your stash. In the end, if you need to default, just maybe go with a solid cardstock or something that will add some contrast, or you're going to lose your border or whatever it is in the midst of your design. And then I wanted something to tie them together. So I used the our circle punch. And then I used this punch from a secret box last year, I think, called Blooming Medallion. So this blooming medallion fit nicely inside here. And then I fussy cut out a bird to put in the middle there. On this side, I'll probably play with, I'm getting my cutting system out. So I could cut this little bird out. I had one other photo, it's kind of taken from far away. I could punch him out and then mat him on a circle. I could use the inside of one of my, yeah, if I cut in the inside with the red blade, I'll be able to mat it on top of this punch. And that would just get me the tiny little bird. So that's one thing to do if you have extra photos. You could punch one out to put in the center like that. Or I could just punch this and do the same thing over here to tie them together. I print my photos actually at Walmart. Creative Memories offers photo printing. There's a few reasons why I actually don't use them. One, probably the biggest one, is I don't want to tie up my product orders with the prints because I run so much product as a business. And number two, I'm usually not planned ahead very well. And so Walmart 1 hour is what I've been using for these. So they're 12 cents. It's Walmart 1 hour. This is the matte photo finish. I was printing 1 hour at CVS, and I've done Walgreens a long time ago, and I wasn't very happy actually with the quality, but I'm pretty happy with the Walmart. So I think Meggan is currently using them also. I think Amazon is pretty similar. Amazon photos are pretty similar for printing. So I'm a little past 8:30 now, so I'm not going to make you watch to cut me punch the borders. We can move on to Meggan's, but I will post it in the group so that you can see how it turns out. Just basically going to be a mirror image of this one. So you can play with your photos. You have lots of space to fill them wherever you'd like. And of course, Peekaboo Pockets always offers an option for adding more. Okay, Meggan, your turn.
Well, welcome. I'm Meggan Jacks out here in Seattle, Washington. I live just north of Seattle. So we're slowly starting our summer, but it is showing up. So I have a layout for you today, of course, and it's a 2-page layout. Should hopefully be fairly easy to put together. I always say that though, so we're going to hope for the best here, but it's just one cut of some designer paper. And then we are going to, if you want to cut some mats, that'll be the other thing you'll need your trimmer for. So I'm going to switch down to my desktop and I'll show you what we've got going on. So here is the sample layout that I showed you, and you can see here I've got the designer paper. We do one cut. We separate those pieces onto 2 background pieces of paper. I used beige cardstock because it kind of coordinated with the off-white that is in this honeycomb paper. And this is a paper out of a paper pack called, was it like Mosaic Tiles or something like that we had a few years ago. It was a quarterly advisor pack, but it's just, I have a ton of them. So it's one I grab when I need to just start experimenting with how I want to cut paper. And I really liked how it came together with the black and the white, or the black and the cream. Use my hexagon punch to keep carrying through that, the hexagons throughout. But you can see here we have some vertical images all along the bottom, and then we've got some horizontal options across the top, but you can of course make some adjustments as you need to. So what you're going to need for your layout, you're going to need your 2 background pages or papers. And my theme that I'm going with, I have some photos from the Palm Springs Air Museum that I'm going to be working with. So I am going to be going with some grays. I have Sequoia green cardstock. So my base paper is going to be gray cardstock. And then I have this plain paper. It's tonal with black and gray. It has plains on it. It's out of the plains paper pack that was from a few years ago. There was that trio of plains, trains, and autos. This is from the plains pack. And this is the page I'm going to be cutting. So when it comes, we're going to like cut it, and then we'll separate the pieces out. I show here using all cardstock to make the bars that go across the borders, and then your mats. If you don't want to mat, you don't have to. I matted for this one because I felt that it needed it. The mats here, you would, it's a pretty busy print behind it. The planes here are a little bit more tonal. It may not necessarily need the mattes, but I've got everything sized to be able to use that. So I've got my plains paper, my background paper, the gray. I am going to be using, I think the plan is to use this small scrap of the blue compass paper, and I'm going to be using that to make my 5/8 inch strips. We need 3 of those, and I can get 3 5/8 inch strip out of that. That's going to have those bars coming across here. I think it'll be a nice pop of color in here. And then for my mats themselves, I've already started cutting some out of the Sequoia solid core paper. I also have some charcoal cardstock. I'm not 100% sure which color I'm going to use. I thought the green might be nice. I've got some green in the photos. These are, of course, military airplanes, so there is a lot of that military green on the inside. So that's kind of what I was thinking with the Sequoia cardstock. So we will go ahead and get started. You're going to need to use your designer paper. I'm going to put my background cardstock to the side for the moment, and also that blue sheet that I'm cutting my the bars, the 5/8 inch strips out of. Set that to the side. Here's my designer paper. So the one thing I want to do is I talk about here in step 1, you need to use your scoring blade, and you need to score 3 inches from the top of your paper. So for this design, we are only using one side of the paper. You could, of course, flip things around if you want, but we're just going to use the one side of the paper. So here I'm looking to find my top. This really, the paper for this particular one can go in multiple directions. It depends on which direction I want my planes to be flying. So I want, I've got planes that are flying here towards the right, and I've also got planes that are flying this direction. So I've determined that this is the top of my paper. So when I score, I want to score 3 inches from this top edge. So once you've found the top of your paper, you'll pick it up by the top and you'll flip it in. So your top edge that I'm holding with my hand is going to come over here to 3 inches. Now, also make sure you put in your scoring blade. If you don't have a scoring blade, you can use a ruler, your multi-purpose tool, and you could go on a piece of cardstock, or excuse me, a piece of the chipboard that comes with our cardstock. You could also use your cutting mat and just go ahead and use that, this end of your, my camera won't pick it up, and just go ahead and score a line there if you want to. But truly the scoring blade, if you have the 12-inch trimmer, is super easy to swap in and out. So this is the top edge. I'm going to be scoring at 3 inches. So now after I've scored at 3 inches, I'm going to go ahead and fold my paper down. I am going to need my cutting mat. And we need to mark with our pencil. We need to mark 3 inches. Fold the top down, and you're going to mark 3 inches from the top left. So this is my top left right here. And I'm going to come over 3 inches and mark with my pencil. And then at the very bottom, so down here, on the right side, my right bottom corner, I'm going to come over 1 inch from the bottom right. And I'm going to mark a pencil line. So up here on the top left, I'm going to come at 3 inches. The bottom right, I mark at 1 inch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use our trimmer to cut from line to line. So find where your pencil line is. Here at the bottom, it's going to come over here at the top. You're going to need to swap out your blade. If you use your scoring blade, swap out your blade back to your straight blade. And I've got my pencil line down here at the bottom, and I've got my pencil line here at the top. Right on that, the left-hand dash line, that's my cut line. And I'm going to go ahead and run my trimmer. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be, you want it to be a straight line. If you're a little bit off, it's not a big deal. So in general, you're cutting pencil mark to pencil mark. And then you'll unfold and you'll see, you should then have step 4 in front of you once you unfold your paper. You'll see that kind of really off-centered chevron arrow piece. And then here's where you can kind of start to see, this is where, you know, if you're not sure of your cardstock, the base paper, you can go ahead and experiment a little bit, try out some different colors, see what you think. What I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead, just make sure I like my background color. I think it's going to be fine. I'm going to toss on some photos here just so we can see. In general, I think my photos are going to pop off here nicely. We've got that hint of that airplane motif in there. I think it's going to work really well. So I'm good with the light gray as compared to using the charcoal. I had thought about using charcoal, but it was a little too, I wanted a little contrast between these two so you could see the effect of the paper. All right. So after you confirm that you like your background paper, the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and cut our strips of paper. So I show you all in black here, you need 3 strips that are cut to 5/8 inch each. And I am going to be using this tonal blue paper that's got the compass design, and I'm cutting it to 5/8 of an inch, which is just past that 1/2 inch. So it's 1/8 of an inch past the 1/2 inch is 5/8. And I'll go ahead and trim. And I need 3 of these. One more, and I'll have all 3. It looks like we used 4, but one of them we were able to cut in sections. So here's my 3rd one. So I need 2 of them to be that full 12-inch length. And then I need one of them to be that I'll cut into sections. And so I'm going to go ahead and I think I'll cut this one into sections. I'm going to cut it into a 3-inch section and then a 9-inch section. So the first part of step 5, where it says you cut those 3 strips that are 5/8 inch wide each, and then one of them I'm going to cut at 3 inches, and that'll give me the 2 pieces. One will be 3-inch, one will be 9-inch. All right. So after we've cut those pieces, I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut my mats later after I've assembled the part of my page, so I can make my determination if they're going to be green or they're going to be the dark gray. So I'm going to start with my left page. Grab my adhesive. I do find it helpful if I put a little extra adhesive right along that seam or that folded edge. So here's my folded edge. I'm going to put a little extra adhesive there, so when it sticks down, it'll stay nice and flat. I am using a little bit of that repo adhesive on the tips of these cornered pieces so that they stay in place. I am leaving myself a little bit of space here. I am gonna have to be able to tuck some things under this paper once I put it down. So you'll see, like right here, I need to be able to work in my blue bars. So I'm going a little bit easy on my adhesive, and here I will be putting photos and such over there. I'm not worried that this piece is gonna fall off the page at all. It's not gonna go anywhere. The gray on this gray mat, it's kind of hard to see the edges to make sure that I got it all flush. I think I'm pretty good. And then here, I tell you, we're gonna go, when we put our first piece on, this 3-inch piece, this 3-inch piece is gonna come up 1/2 inch from the bottom. And I think that actually might be an error, because I think I'm only a 1/4 inch. So here where I say the left page and you're gonna put it 1/2 inch from the bottom, that should actually say a 1/4 inch. So that should be 1/4 inch from the bottom edge. So I'm gonna put on some adhesive. And really, before I get going any further, I think what I am gonna do, I'm pretty certain I'm gonna use the blue, but I'm gonna double check. I am just gonna double check that I wanna use the blue for this before I start adhering all these pieces into place. If I wanted to make the adjustment and go with either the green or the gray, I certainly could. I'm not worried about my mats. I'm just worried about the photos. So I'm just gonna put some photos on here and just kind of see what I think. These photos at the top will have mats. And I think I'm gonna be good with the blue. I don't have a good tonal red to go with this. I used up all my tonal red that matches this. I could use just like crimson or a dark red or other, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and stick just with this blue. My other option would be to come in with green, but I like the blue. I've got touches of blue in various places, so we'll stick with the blue. So when I'm adhering my strips on this left-hand page, it's okay if they stick out over the edge. Really what I want to make sure is they just get under the line there. This one here needs to be adhered, so it's 6.5 inches from the bottom. That should get my mat to fit. That's it, just double checking. I have some pre-cut mats. That should work fine. So I'm going to stick some adhesive on. And then whatever sticks over the side, here I can just snip off with scissors. So I'm not worried about trying to shove this clear under this piece here. I'm just getting it, making sure that it is on there enough. And as Tessa said, it's easier when we can use the T-squares when we're able to stand in there. When you use the T-square ruler, you got to make sure your paper's on your mat straight. So always double check. That looks good. And then I am just going to come in here, slide it down. I'm just trying to get enough of it under. Go flush with that ruler. I need my ruler to go the other direction. There we go. Then I'll just go ahead and cut off those extra strips. Now for the right page, pretty much going to be the same thing, the same spacing. This blue bar will come up 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. But this time I don't have to layer under my paper, so I can put this designer piece down without having to worry about tucking anything underneath it. Find my fold mark and put some extra adhesive on there just to make sure it's gonna stay nice and tight to the paper. Go ahead and put that on my page. Line up my background page on my cutting mat. And then put that adhesive on these blue strips and get those put on the page. So I'm 1/4 inch from the bottom. Since I can go clear across, I'm not going to use my T-square here. I can go from edge to edge. I've got those rulers on the outside edges of the cutting mat. Makes it really easy. And again, I'm at 6.5 inches. So coming up to 6 and then that 1/2 inch beyond, 6.5 inches from the bottom edge is the bottom edge of your strip. Do a quick check here if I want to, just to make sure everything should line up. I can see I'm a little off on this one here. You can see here that for some reason, I must have had just a slight change. So I'm going to come over here and I'll line that up. Must have been off just a little bit on that. Just make sure my mats will fit in there. Yep, the mats fit in there. That's good. All right. So there we go. We've got the strips along here. And now it's time to start putting our photos on. The rest of this should come together pretty quickly. I am just going to double check that I like my green mats. Might be hard to tell versus the gray. I need to still cut one more. You guys may not be able to see so much of a difference here in this anymore. Okay, so here's one thing about colors that can be really interesting when you're doing your layouts. Sometimes we think we want to complement a color because we think that's going to pull out the color in the photo. One of the things you can do though is sometimes when you use the same color of mat that is in your photo, you can especially see it here in the green of this. There's a lot of green on the inside of this airplane. By having the green mat around it, I actually I think it doesn't make the green stand out as much. So if I want to accentuate the green a little bit more in these photos, using the gray can actually be a great way to do that, because it really just helps that green stand out even more. It's probably a minute, like you wouldn't even know. It's just me being picky. I'm going to go ahead and cut some cardstock pieces here. These bottom mats are 5¼ by 3¾ So I'm going to go ahead and cut some and just see what I think. I would rather, I'm kind of picky about the matte sometimes. The gray or the green would look fine.
Is this when I get to say that Megan's picky about everything?
Yes, it is probably where you could say I'm picky about everything.
And
But then I might decide here that it's a little too much gray, that I need some green in there. But then am I going to have the green? See, I think it pulls out the green in the photos better. But not all of my photos have the green in it. Some of them have the gray. But I do get picky. It's my husband would tell you that it's lovely. But I don't know if I want to do every other one. That's the thing. If I don't think I want to go both. I probably just need to commit. I just need to decide. I really don't think you guys can't even tell very well in there. I think I'll go with the green. It just gives me a third color to play with on the as I'm putting things on here, more embellishments and such. So I do see there's a comment up here. Yes, I have an error in the handout. You're going to want to be 1/4 inch from the bottom. So if you have a pencil, hopefully you have your handout printed. And you can write on there. We'll get it edited so that the one that you guys, the revised handout will come out tomorrow or later. Well, it's probably tomorrow. I have to actually revise it tonight. I'll do that during the baseball game. My favorite time of year, where almost every night I can find a baseball game to watch on TV. I get a lot of computer work done then. It's how I justify all that time watching the Diamondbacks play. So at this point, we're just doing making all of the mats. And then after that, it's a matter of determining how you want to do the how you want to make the rest of the embellishments and other additional details on there. So the question is whether or not it is correct that the second strip here is 6½ inches from the bottom. It's only this strip here, this bottom strip. I said 1/2 inch. It needs to be 1/4 inch from the bottom. So that was the only correction on the handout. So I need 6 mats that are cut to 3 3/4 wide by 5 1/4 tall. I need 2 mats that are cut to 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. So this is 5 1/4 wide. So this should be at 4 1/4. And this one I won't be able to use. This next. Oops. Oh, that makes me mad. Okay, I cut that one wrong. So I'm going to have to get another sheet out of the paper. Nothing more fun than doing that, cutting your paper wrong. So the 6 1/4. All right. So there's all of my mats. I will get all of my photos on here. I need to separate out some of my He says, I'm not going to take the time to adhere everything in here. At least at the moment, I'll get that done and ready to go. I had one extra 4x6. Here I have one that shows like all those controls. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine being a pilot. But then I also have this plane just showing more of the hangar that they have, that the airplane in is huge, obviously. So I'm probably going to peekaboo pocket these and then maybe include a little bit more information on the back side of that peekaboo. It really was a lovely tour. If you are in the Palm Springs area and for a vacation at all, doing the air museum there was really pretty cool. They have tons of stuff. I probably have like 4 or 5 layouts from we spent probably 4 or 5 hours wandering around. I have some additional, I have some embellishments. I'm going to come up with a title. I'll probably just have like just something along the B-17. This was the Miss Angela is the name of the plane. That's green is Sequoia. It was from a solid core paper buffet that we had. I do have some airplane propellers that I might use in there. I pulled these out of the planes embellishment border pack that they had. So that might come in here somewhere, but probably over here on this side, I will work on getting that a title in here for this layout. But in general, that's kind of how it works. That's how the whole intention was of going in there. So that is the layout. So let me switch back up here to my camera. So thank you so much for joining us. It was fun. It feels like just yesterday we were back here for May, but we've accomplished quite a bit of stuff since our May Power Hour. The next Power Hour that we're going to do is going to be, oh goodness gracious, it's a Thursday. Oh, that's right. Okay, I remember now. We're doing it on a Thursday, July 6th. So it is 3 weeks from this Thursday. We're going to get together again. And it will be at our regular time. It's just going to be on a Thursday. Tessa has vacation plans. I've got vacation plans. Trying to get something scheduled for us in the summer is always an interesting time. So that will be the information will be coming out. Yeah, Tessa put it there, the Thursday, July 6th. Yes, please post with the hashtag. It is listed on your handout. Share it into the ideas and inspiration group. We will do a drawing. Please, if you can get it posted by the end of day on the 20th, which is a week from today, we will get those drawn sometime after the 20th, usually 21st, 22nd, somewhere in there. We will get the drawing done, and there'll be some happy mail sent to the winner. We always appreciate seeing you guys share all these wonderful layouts. It's not too late to join Summer Scrap. We are into week 2 of Summer Scrap. It is 8 weeks long. We have the challenge post on Monday. We have throwback posts on Thursday. It's a lot of fun to do those. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I do want to say, guys, speaking of green, Creative Memories, I don't know when it's going to be, but they have hints of it. There's going to be an avocado green coming. For advisors or whoever, if you wanted to check out there is a beginner's catalog that talks about some totally tonal products that are going to be upcoming. We've had some of these tonal products. That there is this avocado green is going to be coming. The totally tonals of it will be coming in October. I do not know when they will have the actual color coming. So it does seem to be like there's going to be an update to the greens in our cardstock line. So that'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to hearing more about that. But I did see that sneak peek in the beginner catalog. Is there anything else, Tessa, that you can think of that we need to let people know about? She's shaking her head over there. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you guys next month. Just to know, we will have that revised handout coming to you tomorrow. And then, of course, if you're new to Power Hour and you want old Power Hours, they're all on our website. You can go to meganandtessa.com and then go to the shop, and you'll see all of the various handouts for the Power Hour available, plus all of our past PageMakers classes. I have had a couple people ask when we're doing PageMakers again, and we don't know yet. It really depends on what collections Creative Memory puts out. but for sure we'll have something coming up in for Croptoberfest, which will be this fall, and some other, you know, holiday classes and stuff. So be on the lookout those, but those are coming a little bit down the road. We got to enjoy summer first. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you soon. Have a happy, safe 4th of July if we don't see you before the next Power Hour. Bye.